So this slide is the first slide of several I've pulled from other textbooks to help you understand the topic. It begins with competitor analysis. In other words, this is where you try to figure out what those people inside the rivals box, the ones that you've decided matter to you most directly, what are they going to do? And so as you see the various boxes in there, these are the kinds of questions that you think they want that are relevant to you. Uh, what are their strategies? What are their future plans? What are their strengths and weaknesses? And then one of the things that's very interesting is what are their assumptions? What do their forecasts say? The reason that can be important is it may tell you that they're about to go a direction that you think is incorrect. And so all of the competitor analysis or the idea of competitor reactions, you're happy to let them go their merry way because you don't think they're going to pose a threat to you. These are the elements of a good competitor analysis. So then the question becomes, how do I get the information for a good competitor analysis? Some of it is obtainable through the news, but as I talk about later, you can't really rely on what's reported in the press to give you a very accurate picture. And because of that, companies turn to competitive intelligence. And I'm going to walk you through a series of questions about whether these things are appropriate or not. I use the word fair. That's probably not the best term. Legal is certainly an issue. Ethical is another issue, which is sometimes different than the legal. How do firms go about getting the information they think they need to form the answers to these questions based on competitor analysis? How about going through a competitor's trash once they put it out of the dumpster? Is that legal? The answer is absolutely. The courts have said that once you throw it into the dumpster, you've discarded it. You no longer have rights to it. And as dirty and ugly and nasty as that sounds, companies do pay firms to dumpster dive, which is why it's really a good idea to shred your documents when you're in a business. How about talking to your competitors' customers and their suppliers? Perfectly legal, commonly done. Questions that you might ask a customer, say you lost a bid, you might say, what could we have done with our bid that would have earned your business? Or what do they offer you that we didn't offer that tipped the scales their direction? Suppliers, you can just flat find out what are they ordering, what are they up to, and the like. Whether they answer is a little bit of a different story. In fact, if a supplier answers you those sorts of questions about your competitor, then you need to worry about that supplier because they would probably talk to your competitors about you as well. How about going in their stores and getting their prices? Commonly done, very legal. Companies routinely, if they're retailers, for example, they routinely walk through competitor stores to get ideas and figure out what's going on and the like. And in the 21st century, now increasingly we talk about surfing people's websites to see what people are doing. What prices are they charging? What are their promotions? A lot of information that's available. Several years ago, I had a student that worked for Grainger. Grainger is a huge supply company. And what Grainger had just figured out is one of their number one competitors would go have automated bots that would go and ping Grainger's website to figure out exactly what they were charging for items market by market. And then they would underprice them in that market by 5 or 10%. It was a very systematic and technology-driven form of competitor intelligence, which they directly used as actionable information because they set their prices based on what Grainger was charging for items. How about interviewing their employees? This sounds a little bit iffy. And this is where you get into some of the harder-edged world of competitor intelligence. Companies do, and often they hire third parties to do this, they will hire competitive intelligence firms, and one of the tactics that those competitive intelligence firms will do is they will just go and ask questions. For example, I read about a gentleman who did this kind of work, and he would systematically go visit the stores of the competitors and try to strike up conversations with the store managers. In the article, it talked about how one very rainy night in Atlanta when there were no customers in the store, he got a hold of a chatty store manager who divulged a lot of information that formed the basis for his analysis. And the gentleman was very clear that he never misled people about what he was doing, but he was never real overt about what he was doing either. So this starts to get uncomfortable, but it works. How about sending somebody on a fake job interview with a competitor just to figure out what they're up to? For me personally, this crosses my ethical line, even though it probably does not cross the legal line, because to me this is deceptive. You're sending somebody acting like they're looking for a job and they're really not. So for me personally, this is something I would not do. However, Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, still the chairman of the board, former CEO, said he knew well in advance that Google was targeting or was trying to create a Microsoft Office kinds of software, develop that suite of software, because he would go onto Google's careers webpage and look at the backgrounds of the people that they were advertising positions for. And he said he was able to figure out they were going to do a word processing program and those sorts of things just by who they were hiring. So he felt like he had advance notice of that move. How about hiring away their superstar employees? Perfectly legal, comma, provided that you don't do it as a way to gain proprietary information about your competitors. And this is something where you will see litigation in the courts quite often. Company A will allege that company B hired away their superstar and then forced that superstar to tell company B all about company A's plans. There are usually a couple of high-profile cases like this each year. So you can hire away their superstar employees. We'll talk about why that might be a good idea in the competitive actions, but you can't do it to gain intelligence. Lastly, what if you came across one of your competitors' set of documents that were labeled proprietary or confidential? Can you just make a copy of those and take them back to your office? And the answer is no. That's considered stealing. Boeing did that several years ago on a missile defense kind of contract, got caught, and was heavily fined for so doing. So there are limits to what you're allowed to do, and obviously we're going to have different levels of comfort in the things we do, but these types of actions, for the most part, are legal and customarily done. What do we do with that information? We'll talk about that in the next video.